So now today I'm going to discuss with you all about the protoplast culture and somatic hybridization. Now this part has been given in your unit 3 of your syllabus in plant biotechnology chapter in plant biotechnology syllabus. So let us try to discuss about this protoplast culture. What do you mean by protoplast and how protoplast can be hybridized, and then how it can be regenerated in the plant tissue culture laboratory to generate into a hybrid plant. So protoplasts are your naked plant cells without cell wall. That means the cell wall has been removed out. Okay. So the cell wall has been removed out, but they possess the plasma membrane and all other cellular components. So simply with the help of enzymatic process or by some mechanical method, we will remove away the cell wall from the plant cell, but the other components inside the cell will remain. Now for that we have to balance that pressure which is maintained inside the cell with the help of some osmoticum. They represents the functional plant cells, but for the lack of barrier cell wall. Now as we have removed the plant cell wall, now we can able to introduce other component within the plant cell to modify the plant cell mainly. Maybe we can fuse another protoplast cell from similar species of having having a unique phenotypic feature which are of commercial importance, fuse them to form a hybrid cell. Now protoplasts of these different species can be fused to generate a hybrid, and this process is called your somatic hybridization, or also called as protoplast fusion, because we are using the somatic cells to take out that cell wall from that somatic cell to make a protoplast. Then we culture that protoplast to some extent within the tissue culture laboratory, and then the protoplasts are allowed to fuse with the help of some uh, agents, with the help of some chemicals, or with the help of electric current flow. We are allowing fusion of the protoplast, and we generate such type of protoplast hybridization or protoplast fusion, also called as somatic hybridization. There is also another term that you will see, cybridization. Cybridization is the fusion of normal protoplast with an enucleated, that means those who don't have nucleus protoplast, that result in the formation of cybrid or cytoplast. So simply it means that if this is the plant cell and this is the nucleus of the plant cell, and the cell wall has been removed out, okay, and this is uh, another plant cell, another protoplast cell which has been prepared from different plant species, and they are allowed to fuse. Now when they are allowed to fuse, before that this nucleus has to be removed out of one of the protoplast cell. So when the, so this is the genetic now the other organelles are being fused with this cell, and to form a hybrid cell, it forms a hybrid cell having the having the cytoplasmic content of both the protoplasts, but the nucleus is of from only one protoplast. That is called as cybrid or hybridization. The process is called hybridization or cytoplasmic hybrids. We will see later on when I will explain about the hybrids in little bit in detail. So this is about the protoplast culture. What we do first, if I draw the diagram, first we take a plant cell having the nucleus. That plant cell have cell wall, right? Now with it has cell wall. Normally we know with the help of enzymatic action or with the help of mechanical action, we remove the cell wall of the protoplast. We remove the cell wall from the plant cell, and we also use some other chemicals like sorbitol or mannitol, okay, which are actually called as which are actually used to stabilize the protoplast and prevent them from bursting out, because we have removed the cell wall, so there is the internal pressure which tries to comes out, and to stabilize that protoplast we need sorbitol or mannitol solution, you will see. Then what we do, we will grow this protoplast in the culture medium, and after growing into the culture medium, these protoplasts are allowed to hybridize with another protoplast, maybe from different species having different traits, having different characteristics that we want to introduce, and that is called somatic hybridization. And sometimes we also do hybrid formation, where the protoplast from one species having their nucleus removed out fuse with the protoplast of another species or similar related species having their nucleus remaining, okay. So in this way we make somatic hybridization, and then those somatic hybrid cells are allowed to culture. We try to regenerate the cell walls in that somatic hybrid cells, and then we regenerate them through the help of tissue culture technique. We will regenerate them into a plant. So this is the all about the somatic hybridization and protoplast culture. Now, what is the importance of protoplast and their cultures? Now, protoplast have a wide range of applications. If you see, protoplast have a wide range of applications. Some of them has been written here. First, protoplast in culture can be regenerated into a whole plant. So with the help of some modification in the culture media and in the tissue culture techniques, we can regenerate this protoplast into a whole new plant. Hybrids can be created, can be developed from the protoplast fusion, which is also called as somatic hybridization. Okay, so by fusion of the protoplast from different species or related species, we can make a hybrid cell, and that hybrid cell can be cultured and grown into a hybrid plant. It is easy to perform single cell cloning with protoplast. Okay, so with the help of protoplast culture, we can do single cell cloning of the protoplast. Next is genetic transformation can also be achieved through genetic engineering of protoplast DNA. So there is the protoplast, and protoplast inside there is a nucleus. Now with the help of genetic recombinant DNA technology techniques, we can able to introduce the gene of our interest into this protoplast, and that gene can be expressed. Now that gene is of commercial importance, maybe of medical importance, of commercial importance, okay, to make a new variety of that particular plant actually. So you can do genetic transformation, you can transfer the genetic material of our choice, which is also called as transgene, into the cell of the protoplast, and we can also grow them. Protoplasts are excellent materials for ultrastructural studies. So, with the help of protoplast culture, we can study the different organelles which present in the within the protoplast of the plant cell. So, it is useful for cytological studies. Isolation of cell organelles and chromosomes is very easy from the protoplast, because there was cell wall before. We have removed the cell wall. Now we can easily isolate the cell organelles like your nucleus like your chloroplast, all the plastids you can able to isolate them, okay, and other organelles also from the protoplast, okay. Protoplasts are useful for membrane studies. That is, membrane studies means in the cell biology you have studied about the active transport, passive transport, facilitated diffusion, different type of techniques you have studied. So we can able to study about this by with the help of this protoplast culture. So with the help of protoplast culture we can able to study lot of things about the membranes, how the membranes transport the minerals, transport all the molecules across the membranes, right, through a passive transport, through active transport, or with the help of some molecules. And isolation of mutants from the protoplast culture is very easy. So isolation of the mutants from the protoplast culture is very easy. Actually, here we can also generate mutation, the mutagenesis concept that I have said, and actually we will study about the auxotropic mutants here and try to select those particular of commercial importance, okay. So isolation of mutants from the protoplast culture is very easy. Now how we can able to isolate the protoplast? Protoplast isolation can be done by two techniques. One is your mechanical method, another is your enzymatic method. So let us see the two methods that has been written here. Okay, so the mechanical method, let us study. So it is saying that your protoplast isolation by mechanical method, it is a crude technique, not so purified technique, but it is a tedious procedure. That means we require patience to isolate the protoplast by removing the cell wall of the plant. This result in the isolation of very small number of protoplasts. So as it is a crude procedure, like for instance when I have done the DNA isolation technique, there is a crude technique also. That means DNA isolation can be done in the home also with the help of some chemicals, but that DNA that we will isolate is of crude type, not purified form. So mechanical technique of protoplast isolation is somehow like that. It is a very crude technique and tedious technique, and it results in very few number of protoplast. The technique involves the following stages. Let us see what are the stages. Diagram is also given in the upper hand. You can see a small piece of epidermis from plant is selected. So what is epidermis? Epidermis is the outer layer of cells, or you can say tissues of an organism. So here the plant is that organism, the outer layer of tissue covering of an organism is that epidermis. So a small epidermis from a plant is selected. Then the cells are subjected to plasmolysis. So it is now subjected to plasmolysis. What is plasmolysis? Plasmolysis is the contraction of the protoplast of a plant cell as a result of loss of water from the cytoplasm when placed in a hypertonic solution. You have learned this in your cell biology class, also in your junior classes about the plasmolysis, that with the help of hypertonic solution, when we place the hypertonic solution in the protoplast cell, we will see that there will be tremendous loss of water from the cytoplasm of the protoplast, and from not protoplast, sorry, it is now still a plant cell, now it has the cell wall. So there will be tremendous loss of water from the cytoplasm of the plant cell, and due to which it will shrink. But the cell wall will not shrink. The cell wall is of non-living matter, right? It is made up of cellulose, pectin, right? What is hypertonic solution? Here we are using hypertonic solution is a particular type of solution that has a greater concentration of solute on the outside of a cell when compared with the inside the cell, like the salt solution, like the sugar solution. Okay, or you can use 5% of dextrose or 0.4% of 0.45% of sodium chloride to be used as a um, hypertonic solution. Okay, so by using those hypertonic solution, we are subjecting the plant cell to plasmolysis so that the cytoplasm content, or you can say the protoplasmic content, gets shrink up while the cell wall remain intact. Now the tissue will be dissected. In the third step, the tissue is dissected to release the protoplast. Simple thing. If you see the technique, you can see the epidermis. Plasmolized cell is showing where this one is your, sorry, I have marked in the wrong way. This one is your cell wall. Okay, and inside this is your actual cell, the protoplast, right? Okay, and then we dissect the cell. Dissect means we cut off the cell to get out that cell from the cell wall, and thus we take the protoplast. The protoplast is released and it is maintained in a on a solution containing sorbitol and mannitol, because these solutions like sorbitol or mannitol stabilize the protoplast and prevent them from bursting outside, because inside there must be some pressure maintained by this cell, and also the some another pressure is maintained by the cell wall to protect from that bursting. To maintain that protoplast, we use a solution of sorbitol and mannitol. About you can say 500 to 800 millimole per liter of sorbitol solution is being used. Okay, so that's all for the mechanical method. But this mechanical method have some limitations. What are the limitations? The yield of protoplast and their viability is low. That means yield of protoplast is low first. Okay, we obtain a very low amount of protoplast, and even the protoplast which has been isolated, their viability is low. That means the activity of the protoplast is quite low. So what's the use? That's why we don't go for mechanical method. Second problem is that it is restricted to certain tissues with vacuolated cells, those cells which have large vacuoles that store the water substance. Those cells are cannot be subjected for mechanical isolation of protoplast, and this method is laborious and tedious. It requires lot of patience. It is a very laborious technique. However, some workers prefer mechanical methods if the cell wall degrading enzymes of enzymatic method cause deleterious effect to the protoplast. Now there are some mechanical methods also. Some workers use the mechanical methods for isolation of the protoplast. Now let us see the enzymatic method. I will not study from here. I am studying from different section, from different book. Okay. So what we do for the isolation of the protoplast, what we do, isolation of the protoplast is achieved by treating the cell and tissues with suitable mixture of cell wall degrading enzymes. So we use some cell wall degrading enzymes to degrade the cell wall and to take that protoplast out. What is the cell wall made up of? Respect to that, we will use that enzymes like we use a mixture of pectinase, okay, or macero enzyme 0.1 to 1.9%. We can use cellulase, Okay, cellulase we can use also about 1 to 2%. It is appropriate for most plant materials. So a mixture of pectinase and cellulase enzyme can be is preferred for your protoplast isolation. You can see here clearly it is written pectinase is used 0.1 to 1.9% and cellulase is used for 1 to 2%. That mixture is enough for removing out the plant cell wall. Sometimes we also use the hemicellulase. Hemicellulase may also be necessary for some tissues. Generally, a crude commercial preparation of enzyme is used. Okay, so we use a mixture of hemicellulase, cellulase, and pectinase. pH of the enzyme solution has to be maintained between 4.7 and 8. Okay, not too much of acidic, not too much of alkaline, so it is maintained within 4.7 to 8, and temperature is kept at 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. So these enzymes will able to remove the cell wall by degrading the components of the cell wall. Osmotic concentration of the enzyme mixture and subsequent media is elevated. That means to maintain the osmotic concentration inside the cells in the protoplasm, we use some other chemicals also, like we use we use 500 to 800 millimole of sorbitol or mannitol to stabilize the protoplast and prevent them from bursting. So here to stabilize the osmotic concentration of to stabilize the osmotic concentration, we use this chemical of sorbitol or mannitol. About 500 to 800 millimole per liter of sorbitol or mannitol is used to stabilize the protoplast and to prevent them from bursting outside, because we are removing the cell wall. A pressure was maintained before, and that pressure inside, internal pressure, is now become more. To stabilize them, we use this sorbitol or mannitol solution. Usually 50 to 100 millimolar per liter of calcium chloride is also added to the osmoticum, as it improves the plasma membrane stability. So osmoticum is actually to maintain that osmotic concentration, we use osmoticum. Here mannitol, sorbitol are actually a type of osmoticum. It maintains that osmotic concentration in the protoplast culture. Extra, we can also add this calcium chloride CaCl2 about 50 to 100 millimole per liter. Why? Because it improves the plasma membrane stability. Cells and tissues are then incubated in that enzyme mixture for few to several hours. Usually, if you see, 16 to 18 hours is required minimum for we put that cell from where we want to isolate the protoplast into that enzyme mixture containing cellulase of 0.1 to 2%, pectinase containing 1.1 to 1.9%. Then we use hemicellulase also, and we for maintenance of the osmotic pressure in the protoplast culture, we use the mixture of sorbitol of 500 to 800 millimole per liter of the enzyme solution, or mannitol, and also calcium chloride to improve the plasma membrane stability. This whole enzyme mixture that I have talked now, it is maintained at pH of 4.7 to 8. Temperature is kept within 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I am now going to show you this diagram. So with the help of this diagram, you can able to imagine that how the protoplasts are being isolated. So this is a cell wall. Cell wall is being removed by the help of a mixture containing pectinase 0.1 to 1%, cellulase 1 to 2%. To maintain the osmotic pressure, osmoticum is used, like 500 to 800 millimole per liter of sorbitol and or mannitol, and 50 to 100 millimole per liter of calcium chloride to maintain the plasma membrane stability. Okay, pH is maintained 4.5 to 8, temperature is 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, I think 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, right? And there this enzyme mixture, within this enzyme mixture the cells, the tissues are being kept for 16 to 18 hours. So this was about the protoplast isolation. You will see. Okay, and for protoplast culture the medium that we use is your MS media, that is Murashige and Scoop media, and B5 media. Although I have not given you the components of the what are the composition of the MS media and B5 media, I will talk to you in a different lecture, in different lecture. Okay, and after 7 to 10 days of culture protoplast will regenerate in the cell wall. So here it is saying that after isolation of the protoplast we have to grow that protoplast, we have to culture that protoplast in a certain suitable medium, and generally MS medium or B5 medium can be used, and little bit modification will be done to for the protoplast culture. Media are supplemented with osmoticum again to maintain the osmotic pressure in the protoplast. Like we use sorbitol, mannitol solution, and calcium chloride. And almost all, as always, we have seen we use a phytohormone combination of auxin and cytokinin. They are types and concentration, which depends on mainly on plant species. That what type of concentration is suitable for growth of the protoplast depends on what type of plant species we are using. After 7 to 10 days of culture, protoplast regenerate the cell wall, and the osmolarity of the medium is gradually reduced uh, to that of normal medium. Slowly, we try to slow down their osmotic pressure and lower the osmoticum concentration. So the macroscopic colonies are now transferred to the normal tissue culture medium. Protoplasts are very sensitive to light, so therefore their culture in diffused light, very means very light of very low intensity, or you can keep that protoplast culture in dark conditions for the first 4 to 7 days. Okay, so this was about the protoplast isolation. Next we will talk about the protoplast fusion. Okay, so more thing has been given about the protoplast isolation, that how protoplast culture of protoplast has been shown, that how protoplast culture is being carried out. So more thing has been said. Let us see. So culture of protoplast. The first step in protoplast culture is development of the cell wall around the membrane. Now, for culturing, before development of the cell wall, we have to go through that protoplast hybridization, or you can say protoplast fusion around the membrane, and then you will go for regeneration of the cell wall in the protoplast culture. So you will see here in this figure that how your somatic or protoplast culture is being carried out. You can see the epidermis is peeling out from the leaf of the young plant, as you can see here, and that peeled leaf segment contain the cells. The cells are subject to plasmolysis. This is showing the mechanical treatment. We can also go for enzymatic treatment as well, as shown here, enzymatic treatment. And then after that we will culture the protoplast in a modified MS media or G5 media, G5 media, and then the protoplasts are being plated, and we try to regenerate cell wall in that protoplast. But before that, we have to go for many things. Before regenerating this cell wall, we have to undergo fusion, because the main objective of our protoplast culture is fusion of the protoplasts from different species to make a hybrid protoplast, and that have some unique features of commercial importance. Secondly, we can do genetic manipulation of the protoplast by introducing genes. Certain genes can be introduced, that genes has to be expressed. Okay, that is the gene transformation through genetic engineering, and then we will regenerate the cell wall. After that, the clump of cells, you can see cell wall is being regenerated, and then the clump of cells will further generate into a callus tissue, mass of organized cells, and then the callus tissue is being differentiated to form either somatic embryo, or they are cultured. Rooting is done just like micropropagation, and thus we can create a modified plant, a hybrid plant. So that's all for this protoplast culture technique. Flowchart has been given also for somatic hybridization process. As you can see, the leaf is first surface sterilized your uh, with your mild detergent like Twin 20. So I have said this, or before, in old days they used TPOL solution. TPOL solution was also used, which act as a mild detergent. We use 75% ethanol, and finally we use the mercury chloride, very low concentration, 0.01%. Okay, and then finally it is washed with double distilled water. Lower epidermis is peeled off from the leaf, and the leaf is cut into small pieces. These leaves, the epidermis part of the leaf is then incubated in the enzyme mixture. Now that enzyme mixture consists of cellulase, it consists of pectinase, it consists of hemicellulase, also osmoticum, which maintains the osmotic pressure within the culture medium, within the maintains the osmotic pressure inside the protoplast, like sorbitol or mannitol, or we can use, and also we can use calcium chloride solution, right? So they are kept in this enzyme mixture contain these components for about 18 hours, and then protoplasts are separated from the debris. Debris means the remaining part left over, we have to isolate the protoplast from them. Then here it is showing somatic hybridization, by that is the protoplast fusion, by using PEG treatment. PEG means polyethylene glycol. Polyethylene glycol. Now this chemical polyethylene glycol is the most suitable chemical for protoplast fusion actually. This PEG treatment that I have said, it is widely used in protoplast fusion because of its high success rate. And for PEG treatment, for this type of treatment, we use about 20, we use a mixture. The isolated protoplasts are used in a culture medium. They are mixed with equal volumes of a solution containing polyethylene glycol. The polyethylene glycol is given 28 to 56% in that solution, and this polyethylene glycol will enhance the fusion of protoplast in many by interfering the cell walls, disturbing the cell membrane actually, and selected protoplasts are washed several times in the culture medium. It is of low toxicity to the cells, that's why polyethylene glycol is mainly used. Okay. Okay, so this was about the fusion of the protoplast. and then after fusion of the protoplast, then we have to regenerate the cell wall from with on these hybrid protoplast cells. We will then culture the hybrid cells and we regenerate the plantlet through the help of tissue culture technique, same like rooting, shooting, just like we have done in micropropagation. And then we will actually see the characteristics uh, and evaluate the regenerated plant, that what are the features that we want to modify the plants by hybrid, by fusion of the protoplast to create that plant. Okay, what maybe that features has been observed, is expressed or not, the genes that has been used, okay, for manipulation, or during fusion all the nucleus components have also been fused, their chromosomes have also been fused, so whether they are equally getting expressed or not within the cell. Okay, now for fusion of the protoplast, what we do, we can go for three techniques. Three techniques are there for protoplast fusion. We will see some of them. Let us see. Okay, so there are three techniques for protoplast fusion. You can see three techniques are there. This is the one technique, this is another technique, this is another technique. The first technique that is saying is your high calcium high pH treatment. What does it do? What does high calcium high pH treatment do? Let us see. This technique, the technique for protoplast fusion, are pretty well refined and highly effective for almost all the systems. There are a number of techniques which has been used to induce fusion of the protoplast. So in high pH, high calcium for treatment, we actually um, we suspended this protoplast culture into this enzymatic mixture containing the high pH high calcium treatment, and it is kept at for about 30 minutes for 37 degrees Celsius. By that time it has been shown that the protoplast has been fused in a very effective way. Okay, so simply we use the enzyme solution containing all those components to remove the cell wall. Okay, uh, okay, and then we isolate the protoplast. Then the protoplast from species A, suppose, are fused are able to are together mixed with the protoplast from species B, and these are then allowed to keep in a solution containing high pH high calcium ion for 30 minutes, right? The calcium concentration should be of 50 millimole per liter. Okay, and the pH should be maintained at 10.5. This condition is enough for the protoplast to become fused. The second technique is your polyethylene glycol treatment. I have said little bit ago about polyethylene glycol. It is of low toxicity. It induces high frequency of fusion and accompanied with low toxicity to most cell types. What we do, the protoplast mixture is treated with polyethylene glycol of 28 to 50%. Although in some books, I have using two books here. So in one of the book, I have seen that they have said polyethylene glycol is used. Let me see, 28 to 56%. Okay, more or less same. Okay, so about 28 to 50% here it is given. In another book 56% has been shown. That's okay, little bit more or less has been given, but okay, that type of protoplast polyethylene glycol mixture is used, and within the solution the polyethylene glycol, that percentage of polyethylene glycol is used, and then in the within that mixture we are allowing the protoplast to suspend in that solution for 30 minutes, just like I have said about the calcium and high pH treatment. And it is followed by gradual washing of the protoplast to remove away the peg. That means after 30 minutes we will then wash the protoplast, okay, to remove away the polyethylene glycol, and protoplast fusion will occur during washing. Okay, now the washing, the liquid that we are using to wash, first I am sorry saying first we have make a peg solution, we have used make a peg solution, polyethylene glycol solution. That polyethylene glycol solution is of 28 to 50% containing the solution. Within that solution, we will pour the protoplast culture from species A, from species B. Okay, and after pouring that culture for 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes, after that we will treat the protoplast. We will wash the protoplast to remove away the components of the polyethylene glycol solution, and protoplast fusion will occur during washing. Now, what is the washing medium that we are using? The washing medium that we are using is the same thing that we have used in high pH, high calcium treatment. That is highly alkaline, about pH 9 to 10 with high calcium concentration. So here the two techniques are merged actually. The pH, high calcium treatment with the polyethylene glycol treatment. Now this approach is very a combination of polyethylene glycol and high pH, high calcium treatment, and it is more effective than either of the techniques. So here we are using a combination of the two techniques for this treatment. So what happen is, if I say chemically, polyethylene glycol is negatively charged and it binds to the cations like the calcium ion, which in turn may bind to the negatively charged components in the cell membrane, in the plasma lemma, right? Now, on the other hand, polyethylene glycol can directly bind to the cations found in the plasma lemma, in the membrane of the protoplast. What happened during washing? The polyethylene glycols is removed out, but when it is removing out, it also removes it also try to move away the where it binds with the components of the protoplast like the calcium ions. Okay, and due to which what happened, it will disturb the membrane in the plasma lemma, and that's become a scope that the other membranes, disturbed membranes, will try to fuse to form a hybrid protoplast. So again I repeat, polyethylene glycol is negatively charged. It binds to the cations found in the plasma lemma directly or indirectly. When we are washing the protoplast, after treatment with the polyethylene glycol, we are washing the protoplast, right? Now, when we are washing the protoplast, it is destabilizing the membranes in the plasma lemma. Why? Because the polyethylene glycol is removed out, but at the same time, it is also um, moving out with the components of the plasma lemma, that is the cations where it binds, or with the anions indirectly where polyethylene glycol binds. Okay, and then it destabilize the membrane of the protoplast. Thus there is a chance that the other destabilized membrane of the protoplast will try to fuse to form a hybrid cell. So you can see a heterokaryon where the nucleus from two different species has been present. Now there is one fate, two fate can occur, two possible things can occur. Either these nucleus will fuse to form a hybrid cell. Obviously the chromosomes will be eliminated off from either the species in order to maintain the chromosome number within the cell, or what happened, completely one of the nucleus may get eroded off, completely one of the nucleus may get eliminated off and form a cybrid. This may occur either cybrid or hybrid. So this is a cybrid and this is a hybrid as written here, where the nucleus has been fused properly um, in a proper ratio and form a hybrid cell. The cytoplasmic content are also having the mixture of the two protoplasts from the two species, also the nucleus has been fused. Obviously some of the chromosomes has to be eliminated out in order to maintain the chromosome number. Okay. Or hybrid formation may occur where we can see the nucleus from one protoplast is surviving, whereas the nucleus from the other protoplast has been removed out. So this technique is quite beneficial for protoplast fusion. Second technique, the third technique. So first technique was only your high calcium, high pH treatment. Second technique is your the mix. It is a fusion of your protoplast by polyethylene glycol, and at the end, when we are washing to remove away the polyethylene glycol, we use a high calcium, high pH treatment. So it is a fusion of both the techniques. The third technique is electrofusion. What we do in electrofusion, let us see. In electrofusion, what we do, we use a low voltage non-uniform alternating electric current. If you can able to see, you can here you can see it is written. So here we use in the third technique how fusion of protoplast is being done. We use a low voltage non-uniform alternating electric current pulses to bring the protoplast in close contact. Okay, and then fusion of the protoplast is done by a short pulse of high voltage. First, low voltage non-uniform alternating electric current is being allowed so that the protoplast may come close in contact, and then fusion of the protoplast is done by a short pulse of high voltage. Now the main thing is how much duration we will apply that voltage, otherwise it will damage the protoplast. The duration of the high voltage is of few microseconds, and the voltage will range from 500 to 1000 volt per centimeter. So for a few microseconds we apply the high voltage so that destabilization of the protoplast plasma membrane occurs and they fuse. High voltage create transient disturbance in the organization of the plasma lemma. So the membrane of the protoplast called as plasma lemma, some sort of transient means temporary disturbance occur due to that high voltage of current of 500 to 1000 volt per centimeter, which leads to the fusion of the neighboring protoplast. Now whole thing is operated in an equipment called electroporator. This electroporator is quite costly, and this approach generate general fusion of protoplast and has no control on type of protoplast entering the fusion. So we cannot able to control that which protoplast is fusing. Maybe the same protoplast from the same species is getting fused. We have given the solution of mixture of protoplast having of different species of our interest, but it may occur that the protoplast from the same species may get fused, just like this. It is saying that protoplast from species A, protoplast from species B, they are being fused by different ways to create this type of things. Like you can see, this is called as homokaryons, where you can see the similar protoplast has been fused to create hybrid cell. But we require this one, the heterokaryon, where the protoplast from different species, from species A and species B, has been fused and we generate a hybrid cell. Okay, these are unfused one. It depends on what type of fusion techniques we are using. Okay, so this event can occur. So this approach, this electrofusion technique induces general fusion among protoplasts, and there is no control on what type of protoplast is being fused. In a modification of electrofusion, protoplast pairs are individually transformed into microfusion chambers with the help of micro manipulator setup. So we can, just like ELISA. In ELISA, we use our micro titer wells, small micro titer wells. Same here also, we can use some small micro titer parts. Okay, chambers, microfusion chambers we can use, where we will try to induce fusion between the protoplast of two different species. Then we can able to regulate the voltage also by using a DC current, direct current of 800 to 1800 volt per centimeter for 50 microsecond. Okay, that is enough for the process to go for fusion, and this is called as microelectrofusion, which is a modification of the electrofusion technique. And many workers are feeling that this type of fusion technique is more desirable than the electroporation, than the main electrofusion technique, because here we are using a selective way to fuse the protoplast. So this was about the protoplast fusion. In the next video I will try to explain about the how the protoplast that we have fused, how we can able to know that which one has to be selected. Obviously the heterokaryon has to be selected, that I have shown you theoretically, but how you can able to identify that this is that type. Okay, for this there are various cytological techniques, there are some biochemical techniques are there, which has to be explained. And then we will explain later in the video about in the next lecture, about the limitations of the protoplast culture, applications of the protoplast culture. Okay, so that's all for today's lecture.